You are in this area. This is now a tornado-warned cell. You've got to be someplace safe as that rotation has started to tighten up. Again, we were waiting for it to see if it would tighten up. It certainly is tightening up now. Northwest of Hartford, there's the tornado warning polygon, which covers the northern and northeastern part of Geneva County, and then goes into the western part here of Houston County, and then into the southern part of Dale County. And with that new scan coming in, that is certainly a tighter and tighter pocket of rotation. So treat this as a tornado. There's High Bluff. There's Highway 167 off to the northwest and west there of Hartford. Outbound, inbound, very, very strong rotation indicated by Doppler radar with this cell. I'm going to switch back over here and show you a different view. This is using our storm relative velocity, which accounts for the forward motion of this cell. And when you see these pinks come together with the greens, gate-to-gate shear is increasing. That gives us very high confidence that the rotation that's been evident in the atmosphere for a while is starting to work down to the ground. So this could be, or may very well be, in the next couple minutes, a tornado in Geneva County, northwest of Hartford, not too far away from High Bluff. The 167 corridor. Tomorrow's the busiest travel day of the year. Today's a very busy travel day. A lot of errands, a lot of people coming and going from all over the southeast. If you know anyone in this area driving 167 between, say, Hartford and Enterprise, you make sure that they stay put, because this cell has very strong rotation with it. And there's a look at the reflectivity. It's the southern part of this cell here, this hook showing up on Doppler radar. If you're tuning in now on WRGX, welcome to the broadcast here as we track a tornado-warned cell in the northern part of Geneva County, moving off to the east-northeast. That puts parts of Houston County and Dale County in this tornado warning from this pocket of rotation. One view using Doppler radar, and then a second view here using Doppler radar. Very indicative here of a potential tornado in Geneva County. What we can do is take a look at the actual debris tracker to see if any debris is showing up with this cell. And we've got some different colors here. Let's go back over to the reflectivity, and the hook is right here. I'm going to show you where the velocity couplet is, and it's right in this area. And now we'll go back over to the correlation coefficient, the debris tracker, and it might be this little pocket that we're seeing that is debris. Let me go back just a little bit. Certainly could be. We'll give that another scan to come in to see if this is indicating debris in the atmosphere. Looking at the velocity scan, when you have really tight rotation, usually in an environment like this, that does mean there is a tornado. So I would treat this as a tornado. There's Highway 167, there's High Bluff. This is a look at that rotation right here. Outbound, inbound, there's the center of that rotation. Usually tornadoes like this are very small. They're EF0s, they're EF1s. They don't do a significant amount of damage over a very broad area. But if you live in a mobile home, it can easily toss that mobile home. A well-built home can have roof damage. Trees can be falling, and that can produce damage to vehicles, to homes, and people, of course, and pets that are outdoors. So if you are in this area in Geneva County, you want to be someplace safe. The lowest part of the structure that you're in, the interior most part of that building. If you have a basement, that'd be great. Not many of us have basements here in Southeast Alabama, but that would be a good place to be, or in a storm shelter. Heads up in Wicksburg. If you're watching us from the 84 corridor, the western part of Houston County, southward towards Wicksburg into the northeastern part of Geneva County, this is a tornado-warned cell with very strong rotation in an environment that is supportive of rotation and at least lower end tornadoes. And that was kind of the whole situation, the whole case that we're watching today. Enough would be coming together to give us a low end chance of an isolated tornado or two. And this could be that isolated tornado unfolding right now. Approaching High Bluff, right along, almost right along Highway 167. That is north and west of Hartford, southeast of, say, Enterprise, south of Daleville, in that part of northern Geneva County. A very strong pocket of rotation. If we go back over to that correlation coefficient there, so there's a pocket. We'll see if this updates and we get that hole to align with where the actual rotation couplet is, which is almost now, probably now passing Highway 167, pretty close to High Bluff. We'll zoom in there, and there's County Road 41, and there's, what is that, Iroquois Road right here, Damon Pond Road, County Road 47, of course, there's 167, pretty close to High Bluff. So basically, Iroquois and County Road 41 right now, just to the west of High Bluff, basically along now Highway 167, the northern parts of Geneva County for this cell. Very strong rotation still evident as we continue to track this storm off to the north and to the east. I can say storm now because there's finally a lightning strike showing up there in the far western part of Houston County. What's been interesting today, and Kinsley and I last night at 10 o'clock were talking about the chance of these cells rotating today with absolutely no lightning. And that's the first lightning strike that we've seen now from the cell. And now there's another. So if you look at the atmosphere, you can have very strong rotation in the lower part of the atmosphere and not have real robust convection in the atmosphere. The fact that we're seeing lightning means that storm is growing taller into the atmosphere, and that means you have a better updraft. And a stronger rising air motion means better spin potential, which means that this cell may continue to organize and get stronger as it moves off to the north and to the east. So with that in mind, if you live anywhere north of Hartford towards Wicksburg, you've got to be someplace safe. It's dark outside now, or nearly dark. The sun is down. The sun sets so early, and we have a very strong pocket of rotation showing up here. Crossing 167 by High Bluff. We'll go back over to the correlation coefficient, that debris tracker, and again, we're waiting to see if that will align with where that rotation pocket is in the atmosphere. So I can't confirm there's a tornado with this cell, but I can confirm that there's very strong rotation in the atmosphere, and given the fact that we've got some lightning strikes showing up now, that indicates that the cell is strengthening as it moves off to the northeast. The motion on this at about 25 to 30 miles per hour, very heavy rainfall south of Clay-Hatchie into the northern part here of Geneva County, the southern part of Dale County, into the western part here of Houston County. So there's Dothan right here, there's Highway 84, and then you get southward towards Wicksburg in this area, and this is that pocket of rainfall that is moving in. Lightning strikes right here. That all culminates with a pocket of rotation here north and west of Hartford, and a very distinct hook there on Doppler radar. Northwest of Slocum, northwest of Hartford, the northern part here of Geneva County, taking aim on that panhandle of Houston County in the next 10 minutes or so. It'll be likely entering the southern and western part there of Houston County, this part right through here. So very strong rotation, still showing up on Doppler radar. And if we go back over to the storm relative velocity, you can see very clearly that pocket of rotation in the atmosphere, crossing 167 and tracking off to the north and to the east. And pretty good brightening there. If you notice that in the past scan, I'll go back just one scan. And just notice here, you've got solid red, then all of a sudden you've got some pink showing up. This color table goes from dark red to pink as the winds get stronger. So a little pink indicates that the outbound winds are a little bit stronger. If we see that green color table on this view go to light blue, that would indicate strengthening as well. And notice here, we've gone from kind of a darker green to some lighter green. So there's certainly some strengthening occurring with this cell, and that coincides with a look at the lightning increasing as well. So this is the main part of the cell right here with the lightning strikes now into the western part of Houston County. And there's the inflow right in through here, and there's that pocket of rotation just now to the east of 167, northwest of Hartford, the northern part here of Geneva County, and taking aim on the Wicksburg area as well. Zach, go ahead. I think your mic's on.
Well, that's just 3 minutes ago.
Okay, we'll go back to that correlation coefficient there, and we're watching to see if that little pocket here continues to align with that pocket of rotation, and it's awfully close. So hard to say for sure that this is a tornado, but Usually in situations like this, when you have such strong rotation, usually that translates at least at times down to the ground. Maybe you've seen, at least in videos, of a funnel cloud that will come down, go back up, go down, come back, kind of lollipopping up and down. That can certainly happen when you've got this kind of rotation in the atmosphere, which can lead to damage in pockets along the track of this cell. And this cell is moving off to the north and to the east. Still a very well-defined hook echo with this storm. And I'll take you back just a ways here. When we got on the air, this was actually west of Geneva, back around 4:35. Let me go back up to this view and take you back just a little bit. So in that 4:15 to 4:20 ballpark, this pocket of rotation started to come together, and we had a pretty good hook on it here, west of Geneva, northwest of Geneva as well. It weakened a little bit right in through here at 4:50 or so, and then it started to come back together, and now it looks pretty healthy as it's in an atmosphere, as you saw there at the top of the show. It's warm and it's humid. Dew point readings are in the upper 60s. Dew points, that measures the amount of moisture in the atmosphere, and temperatures are in the middle 70s. And the moisture is important because that gives the atmosphere buoyancy. It allows the air to rise up vigorously up into the atmosphere. So if the atmosphere is very buoyant, you get a lot of rising air motion, then the wind shear in the atmosphere, that sideways spin, can be sucked up into the vertical, and that's how you get tornadoes to form, especially in this part of the country. And that seems to be what is happening with this cell here. Some lightning indicated here by these white dots, and a very well-defined hook still showing up there on Doppler radar. Now almost due north of Hartford, the far northern part here of Geneva County. Again, heads up in Wicksburg. If you know anyone in Wicksburg, in that area of western Houston County, make sure they are aware of what is happening with this cell. Make sure they are aware that there's strong rotation, a potential tornado with this cell as it approaches here, probably looking 10 minutes away as it moves into the Wicksburg area, a very distinct area of rotation with this cell. And it's hard to visually confirm what is happening now. Even though it's only 5:14, we're into that time of year where it's dark at 5:14. So you can't go outside and look to the sky to see what is happening. You've got to trust the technology, and that technology is primarily Doppler radar. And that shows us that there's very strong rotation with this cell across the northern part of Geneva County and approaching now the western part of Houston County. There's Houston County right there, so it's only a couple miles south now of Houston County, a tornado-warned cell that has very strong rotation. We've got two different products for rotation that we can show you. If there's any good news, we're not seeing the real bright colors, these blues next to really bright pinks, but notice that area of blue has gotten a little bit stronger over the past couple minutes there as it moves off to the northeast. So some darker blue showing up there. So certainly a very strong storm indicated here by Doppler radar. So there's the center of rotation. There's a look at that debris tracker, and we're just not getting confirmation. If I go back just a little bit, not great confirmation of a debris signature. You see a little area here. But if we go back with that velocity data, it doesn't necessarily align. So there's no way that aligned, I guess, with that pocket of strong winds. There's no way for me to confirm that we've seen a tornado by analyzing the radar data. But I can tell you that we have rotation. And even if we don't have a tornado, we've got these winds here in blue, so off now to the west of Bald Hill, not too far away from the Houston County line. We've got this pocket of very strong winds that came on through 167, and we've got a lot of trees here, a lot of different forests amidst the fields. So these trees can be coming down with a very strong south to southwest wind that may gust over 60 miles per hour. So even though there's no confirmation of a tornado, I can tell you the winds in the atmosphere are very strong. So new scan just came in. Let me bounce back over to the reflectivity, and there's that hook echo that is so familiar with tornadic cells now in the far northern part of Geneva County. Again, this is Houston County. There's Wicksburg, Bald Hill, has a good view. If it were clear and bright outside, you would be able to see that, but it's dark and fairly cloudy, so there's no good view. But there's Highway 123 goes up to Wicksburg. This center of rotation right here is moving basically off to the east-northeast. That puts it very close to Wicksburg here in the next 5 to 10 minutes, which is why if you know anyone in that area, if you are in that area, you want to take shelter. Outbound winds, inbound winds, pocket of rotation. If this tightens at all, it would be a tornado. It might be right now. It doesn't necessarily look like it for sure on Doppler radar, but there's certainly the ingredients in place. The atmosphere is spinning, that funnel cloud is probably dangling down, and it may just kind of be bouncing along the ground as it approaches the southern part there of Houston County, the panhandle part of Houston County, and then takes aim on Wicksburg here in the next 5 to 10 minutes max. Another view here of the reflectivity and then the velocity view. Storm relative velocity with this view, outbound very good, inbound very good, very impressive circulation here, and it is bearing down on Wicksburg. Meteorologist Zach Hatcher is here with me as well. He is monitoring some data. Zach, real quick, have you seen anything come in from damage or any reports of an actual tornado in Geneva County?
David, from an unconfirmed source, I think we might have had one, just based on this video that I'm watching that happened just minutes ago. And it was pretty close to Hartford, based on what I'm seeing here. So it sure looks like it, based on what I'm seeing. I'm sure that we'll know, officially if this was one, but it was getting dark as this was being taken. But just looking at the velocity scan, it would support it, given how tight that couplet was for a while. It kind of just it comes and goes with how strong that circulation is. But as we loop it through time there, certainly possible that we had something on the ground or just almost to the ground. And this video that I'm seeing here, I think we might have a culprit based on this, David.
All right, with that in mind, if you live in Wicksburg, now is your time, your go time to get to your safe place and stay away from exterior walls and windows. We've got that area of heavy rainfall just west of town, some lightning strikes as well, new ones showing up. So we have a very potent storm, and there's that hook echo, not quite as well defined as it was, but it's still evident there, the far northern part of Geneva County, moving towards Wicksburg, likely between Wicksburg and Bailey Crossroads in the next 5 minutes or so as it moves now into Houston County. I want to show you the velocity view again. We've lost some definition, which is good. That's what we want. We don't want a very tight circulation. We've lost some definition, but we still have very distinct outbound showing up here in red and very distinct inbound in green and blue. And this core of strong winds will likely be passing south of Wicksburg. So even if there's not a tornado with this cell, we have a very strong pocket of winds. I'm talking 40, 50, maybe even 60 plus mile per hour gusts that will pass through the northern part here of Geneva County into the area just south and likely southeast of Wicksburg. So heads up here. This is a tornado warned cell. Let me go big view and kind of give you a reset of what we're watching, because that's not the only cell in town, if you will. We have a line of showers and storms from Eufaula southward towards Enterprise, southward into the western part of Geneva County, and then down to the coast. This is the actual cold front that is coming on through the Wiregrass. Out ahead of that cold front, we've got just enough lingering spin in the atmosphere and moisture and warmth to produce some individual cells. And these are the cells more times than not that are the more potent ones compared to the ones within a line like this anyway. But in that line, there can still be some pockets of rotation. So even though we're kind of focused on one cell in Houston County, we'll continue to monitor this whole line, at least over the next hour or so, for perhaps some new rotation to show up. That main area, though, is right in through here, the western part now of Houston County, the northern part there of Geneva County. Doesn't look real impressive from a distance, but as you zoom in, got to remember, tornadoes can be really, really small, the size of your living room. You see that pocket of rotation here pretty clearly. Approaching Wicksburg right now. The circulation has weakened compared to where we were, say, 15, 20 minutes ago when we opened up the show, and then it kind of maximized at, I guess, about 5:10, 5:15 or so. So the circulation has weakened a little bit, but there's still indication of rotation here off to the west and southwest of Wicksburg, north of Bald Hill. I'll go back over to that reflectivity view, and we've got just a little hint still of that hook echo showing up here in this area. So between Wicksburg and Bald Hill, and then just off to the west of there, that's Highway 123. So Bailey Crossroads heads up for you as well, as this will come basically into this area, likely just south of Wicksburg in the next couple minutes here. Broad rotation. We've lost some definition, which is definitely good. This tornado warning is ongoing. I don't want to give up on this tornado warning yet. There's a look at that polygon that extends now towards areas into the highlands, I guess, and then into the southern part here of Dale County. On this track, this cell will continue moving off to the east-northeast. So that puts it eventually up into the area likely north of 84, and then maybe up towards Providence, northwest of Providence, in the next probably 20 minutes or so. Bethlehem Road, where that kind of breaks off from Brandenstand in that general vicinity as we go through time here, given this track, which has been pretty steady off to the east-northeast. So circulation here coming through Wicksburg at this point. No confirmation of a tornado with this cell, but when you see colors like that against colors like this, you've got very strong spin in the atmosphere, and there's a chance that this could tighten back up again and produce an isolated tornado somewhere in the vicinity of Wicksburg. So outbound winds here, a little hint of inbound, and sometimes that's all it takes. Looking at Doppler radar, I remember a cell that 2017 or so when it came over Fort Rucker, at that point Fort Rucker, it didn't look very impressive on radar, but there was a tornado occurring at that point. So we know we've got very strong rotation in the atmosphere now over the western part of Houston County near Wicksburg. You've got to be someplace safe. It's dark outside. You can't see what is happening, but there's certainly strong rotation in the atmosphere. Just again, a little bit of a hint of that hook echo feature pretty much near Wicksburg, just to the south for the actual hook, but the rotation area pocket is basically right over Wicksburg right now. There's Highway 84, so this is the western part of Houston County, and notice there are some more lightning strikes occurring with this cell. There's one popping up there, there's one right here, there's some more back to the northwest, so that tells us that the atmosphere is still pretty potent, and the storm is still rising pretty high up into the sky. You've got to have ice crystals to get lightning strikes. To get ice crystals, you got to be up there over 30, 40,000 feet, depending on the atmosphere. And we've got pretty good rising air motion with this cell, so that rising air motion is key to get rotation to reach the ground. To get a tornado, you've got to have a vigorous updraft more times than that, and that looks to be the case. So a very strong cell here. If you're watching us from Dothan, this is west of Dothan, between Enterprise and Dothan, right along and south now of Highway 84, now kind of entering Houston County and leaving Geneva County for that pocket of strong rotation. Let me go back over to that velocity view. So there's the center of rotation pretty close to Wicksburg. We've been monitoring the debris signature, and there's just no confirmation here of an actual tornado debris based on this radar product, which is good. No confirmation, but again, in these situations, it wouldn't take much to have a little pocket of rotation briefly come down, produce some damage, and then lift back up. So if you're watching us now between Wicksburg and Bailey Crossroads, outbound here, inbound here, you've got some gate-to-gate shear. It's only, we call each pixel a gate. So you've got only two gates that are touching each other like that. And sometimes, again, that's all it takes on radar to indicate that we have an actual tornado. So that is right between Bailey Crossroads and Wicksburg. That looks like Highway 103 right there. So right along 103, basically, between Wicksburg and Bailey Crossroads. Now we're into Houston County with this pocket of rotation, tracking off to the east and northeast. So there's Highway 84, strong outbound winds over Wicksburg. pretty strong inbound or south to north winds here over Geneva County areas south there of Bailey Crossroads. And there's that pocket of rotation, the center of that tornado, that rotation where we've got these colors touching the reds and the greens, and there's some indication there of the light blue showing up. So very strong spin in the atmosphere. And it looks like that little pocket is right here now. Very strong winds coming in from the south. These are outbound winds in the atmosphere, and we've still got that pocket of gate-to-gate shear now off to the east of Wicksburg. Let me kind of center this up just a little bit. So there's Wicksburg, and it's this little pocket that I'm watching right here. There's Highway 84, just south of 84, just to the east of Wicksburg. We've got the gate-to-gate shear, and that might be just enough indication on Doppler radar to say that we have at least a very low-hanging funnel cloud, if not an actual weak tornado. I say weak, EF0, EF1s, usually in situations like this. But you get hit by a weak tornado, it's still a bad day. Just because it's a lower end tornado doesn't mean it's nothing. It's still a very significant storm. And that pocket of rotation is very concerning for sure for anyone here in the western part of Houston County. If we look at the storm relative velocity, kind of backs up my thinking here where we've got these little pixels coming together. So pink and green together. Again, not a very...
And stay there for the next probably 10 minutes or so, and that's as long as you need. Now, the warning is officially going to expire in 45 seconds here. Let's see if the National Weather Service has given an update on whether or not they're going to extend it. So they're not seeing or hearing of any evidence of a tornado on the ground right now. But they say that they're going to issue a base warning, meaning that they're not going to say a confirmed tornado, but they would like to reissue a new tornado warning. Because of that, we're going to stay on the storm, but I'm here as I don't necessarily want to say a voice of reason, but as another meteorologist opinion, I don't think that there's a tornado currently happening within this storm. They're about to put a new warning out. You'll see a new red box come out of this, but not a purple one. Purple one means a confirmed tornado. You see that here, confirmed tornado warning, but a red box is a general tornado warning, meaning that a tornado could potentially happen very soon, or it's likely. When you see the purple box come up, that's when you know a tornado has touched down. Either it was spotted by somebody out in the community, or it was seen on radar by using our three things: reflectivity, velocity, and debris, a debris ball or debris being lifted in the air. So there goes our tornado warning. They said that they're going to put a base warning here on this thing in just a second, so we're not going to go away just yet. It should be crossing over Highway 84 in the next 5 to 10 minutes at the most, east of the Backham's Crossroads area. Let's zoom in just a little bit, and we'll get some more of those communities here. So here you go. It's moving through Wicksburg, north of Bailey Crossroads, fortunately. Here's Backham's Crossroads. Again, you guys are on the northern side of the storm. You're not going to have to worry about a tornado there. But along Highway 84, a new tornado warning should come out any second now. Or at least that's how I was interpreting what they were saying at the National Weather Service in Tallahassee. Let's put this thing up to about 25 miles per hour. Here are some of the communities that it could potentially reach here soon. Brandon Stand area, the far northern, maybe outreaches of the city limits of Dothan, Denton Acres area. That would be where this storm potentially moves toward. Let me go check and see what the National Weather Service is saying right now. I'm not seeing the new warning. And it may have come out while my back was turned, but yeah, not seeing the new warning right now, but they're saying, and it looks like, yeah, there it goes. All right, there's the new warning. They were just taking a little extra time to make sure that they've got their polygon right. So always try and communicate with the National Weather Service in Tallahassee. They're great communicators, letting us know what they're going to do, but there was just a little bit of a lapse in time there that I was waiting for that new warning to come out. They are including part of Dothan. I can tell you that if it does touch the Dothan area, it's going to be just north of the circle. I don't quite think that it's going to be that far south, but the Denton Acres community, that spot, I think that it very well could potentially hit. So this no longer includes, I don't think it includes any of Geneva County at this point. This line should be, yeah, that's the northern edge of Geneva County. So it's fully into Houston County and now moving into southwest Dale County most likely. This could be pretty close to the airport, which is a little bit further north here. So, but here's that hook, and again, it still has some of the structure of a supercellular tornadic storm, but it doesn't quite have all of it. We don't really see a lot of rotation within this. Let's zoom in, show you what kind of rotation we are seeing right now. It has moved east of Wicksburg now. So for the folks in Wicksburg, Bailey Crossroads, Backham Crossroads, you guys are good. You're not in any threat of a tornado warning or of a tornado any longer. I know that Wicksburg's still technically inside the warning, and so is Backham's Crossroads, but I'm telling you guys as that voice of reason, you're not in a threat of a tornado. It is just to the east of you guys at this point. Let's see if there's any debris, and we're not seeing any debris whatsoever. So if this blue were located right here, that's when I would say that there's a debris ball, that a tornado's on the ground. We saw that earlier with a little bit of light green, so we knew that something was being lofted in the air, but it wasn't a lot. We also still see some of the red and green together here, but it is not, in my opinion. I don't think that this is a tornado on the ground any longer. And in fact, I would say that it doesn't necessarily warrant a tornado warning. We don't see that tight circulation that we saw earlier. I'm going to head over to the desk and I want to circle what did produce a tornado earlier today, just 30 minutes ago or so. So we're going to, let me take this back in time and zoom out for you guys. So here's the storm originally. Here was the rotation, the red and the green. Green moving toward the radar going this way, red moving away from the radar going that way. All right, so there was some rotation there. Watch as this thing moves in this direction. And I'm just going to put this here. That's relatively the direction that it was moving. Watch how it starts to tighten right there, right when they put the warning on it. Right in here, southwest of Clayhatchee and northwest of Hartford. That's where it was much brighter. And then about here was where we knew that there was a tornado on the ground. So, again, this is red and green over High Bluff. Earlier today, this was at 5:08. This is where we had a confirmed tornado on the ground near or just south of High Bluff. But as we continue going in time, here it goes. You notice how that green faded away on the southern side, so the winds inbound into the storm weren't as strong, and now they're mainly just outbound winds, is what it looks like at this point. All winds that are outbound. And so we're not seeing the storm ingest the ingredients that it needs. So that's, I'll just leave it right here because I think this is a great way to describe what's been going on. And you're probably, especially in the Dothan area, you're probably starting to hear your phones go off at those emergency alert services on your phone saying that there's a tornado warning. Again, I don't think that this is going to be impactful for Dothan proper. I think it'll be just north of the circle if it does impact anywhere close to Dothan. So notice the green and red right here to the northwest of Hartford. That is where there was a tornado on the ground. Tight rotation there. But now, and that green means ingesting, winds that are going up into the storm, and the red means winds that are going outside of the storm. And so that's where it's circulating. We don't see that any longer. Right now, all that we see is just the red. So winds that are wrapping around kind of the northern side of the storm and heading west, but none that are coming back into it here from the south. So that's a really good sign for folks that are in this tornado warning. I know a lot of folks are being, told by their phones, tornado warning, you got to get into your safe place. For those that are watching me right now, I just want you to know, I don't think that it's necessarily warranted that you need to get into your safe place right now. Let's look at the shear values. There's a little bit of weak shear here in the atmosphere, not a lot of it. Let's go back to our debris. We're not seeing that debris ball or loss of correlation coefficient co-located with our little hook here on the southern side. So I'm still very confident that there is not a tornado on the ground right now, but we do have a tornado warning that does include Headland, Newville, the northern portion of Dothan, Midland City, just outside the eastern limits of Newton. Wicksburg is still technically inside of this thing, but a lot of these communities are outside of the actual threat of the storm. Let's see what the latest update is from the National Weather Service. And they are saying from the National Weather Service in Tallahassee that the storm technically is warned for the northwest Dothan, but the rotation likely will not move over the city. So it could re-intensify given the favorable low-level shear that's still in place, and that's what we were just talking about by looking at those shear values. So we've still got some of the severe weather ingredients there, but it hasn't quite tapped into it like it did earlier. Earlier, it really just hit it on the spot, was able to get just the right ingredients for a few minutes to create a tornado, drop it, hit the ground, and then probably lift back up after only a matter of minutes. That's what I think happened over in Geneva County earlier. What's happening here in Houston County and into Dale County is that there's potential. They're not saying that there's a tornado on the ground right now. They're saying that there's still some favorable environmental conditions for this thing to re-intensify, spin another tornado or funnel cloud back up, drop it to the ground as a tornado. And so they're saying that there's potential there, but not that it's for sure happening at this point. So that's why we're staying on it for the rest of this tornado warning until this thing expires, which I believe is 6 o'clock. And let me pause it here for you. 6:15. This goes until 6:15. So this will dig right into our 6 o'clock show unless they decide to expire it early. And the reason that they're not doing that right now is because there's still some environmental conditions that are favorable to creating a tornado within this storm. Now, I want you to notice here that the storm or the line of storms is now catching up to the main storm. So this storm was coming in from more so the south and southwest. These storms were heading from the west to the east. So they have finally caught up with the storm, which tends to happen with the small supercellular structures out ahead of the main line. And as this thing gains, the line gains momentum and catches up to this storm, I do think that that's going to cut off the life of this thing. And that's going to be it for this storm, most likely. So we're going to keep monitoring it. We're going to stay with it as long as it's tornado warned. That's what we do here at WDHN. But we're just giving you the real life scenario here, what's probably really happening within the storm. I just don't think that there's a tornado on the ground right now. So we're going to stay with it just in case things change. I don't want anyone that's along 84 between Brandon and Backham's Crossroads. Let's zoom in a little bit closer there and see what kind of communities and some of the roadways that we have here. Usually, and we may have a wrong setting on our map here, but usually we're able to see a lot of the smaller roads. Jordan, do you know why some of our smaller roads aren't showing up right now? No. Okay, all right. If you could double check on that for me, that would be good. And you may have to, you've got them pulled up over there. So if you could check right between Backham's Crossroads and Brannon Stand, and actually, yeah, right where that rotation is. Let's go over to links 2, and Jordan, keep it right there, buddy. So here you go, Searcy Road, South Bay Springs Road. Again, I think that one computer has a different setting than the others. Jordan, zoom out just a little bit, and then go to reflectivity. All right, there you go. Zoom back in on that spot that you were just on, and zoom real close in. There you go, Judge Logue Road, and zoom out just a little so to make the words bigger on my screen. There you go. So North Bay Springs Road and South Bay Springs Road. This is going to be right along the North Bay Springs Road, South Bay Springs Road, Highway 84 intersection. That's where this thing is moving towards. So zoom out just a little bit more for me, Jordan, and pull it over to the east a little. Bethlehem Road, I think that this will probably make its way up there. North of Brannon Stand. Eventually, this is going to be entirely north of Brannon Stand, and of the Brannon Stand Road, excuse me, or Highway 84. That's what I meant to say. It's going to be well north of Highway 84, and in fact, it should be right now with that latest scan that just came in. Jordan, if you'll go back to velocity, and let's see if it has any sort of couplet on it. No, it's very broad. Here's your red, here's your green. It's not tight, it's not bright, so it's very broad rotation. They're just extending the warning, as I mentioned earlier, just in case it does put down another tornado. But Jordan and I think we're in agreement, right, Jordan, that this thing does not look like it's intensifying right now.
It does look very broad.
Very broad.
That's good.
All right, so it's very broad rotation, doesn't look to be re-intensifying, and I just don't think that there's a tornado on the ground right now. Earlier, it was very clear that a tornado did touch down, at least briefly, near the High Bluff area in Geneva County. So, Jordan, if you could go to reflectivity very briefly. I'm going to put my hand where, and this hook is no longer what we typically look for hook-wise. It just doesn't have quite that look. But I'm going to put my hand right here, and Jordan, I want you to pull up the debris signature or correlation coefficient. And so right here is where we should be seeing, excuse me, should be seeing that blue and that green showing up. What's happening here is that's just some contamination being sent back to the radar. And that's outside of the actual storm itself, just outside of it. So I do not believe that this is a debris signature showing up here. I think that that's just some bad feed coming back. All right, Jordan, let's go back to velocity, or excuse me, reflectivity. That's my bad. And zoom out a little bit here. You know, we've got some of our smaller roads that are showing up north of 84. That's where this thing is worn. Green Acres, you guys are inside this thing. Zoom back in just a touch, Jordan. But you guys are good. I think that Brandon stand, I think that right there along 84, I think that you guys are good in the Brandon stand area. You're not going to have to worry about this. It should stay just to the north of you. It's going to likely hit between it, again, by hit, I mean cross. I'm not saying that there's a tornado on the ground, but it's going to cross between Midland City and where the Walmart is down here closer to Dothan, I think is where this thing's going to be along 231, likely up right toward Grimes. So let's go back to Lynx 1, so I can use hand tracker here. And there you go. So again, this storm is crossing or has crossed over 84 now. It's on the northern side of it. So everybody that's south of 84, I want you to know that you're safe from this storm. I know that there's still a tornado warning, but you guys are safe from this storm. Even Wicksburg is still technically included in this tornado warning. Backham's Crossroads as well. There is no threat of a tornado over there right now. Absolutely none. Jordan's going to continue monitoring things over there at the weather desk. And let me know if there's any additional rotation, will you, Jordan?
The good news is everything, it looks like the storm is weakening as of now. I know the National Weather Service said the main reason they're keeping it is just in case things could re-intensify.
So Jordan's saying that the storm is weakening for sure, and that's been our assessment here over the past 10, 15 minutes or so, that it didn't look like when there was a tornado on the ground and we saw the debris signature, that had a totally different look than what it looks like right now, meaning one was a for sure tornado. This one is more so, as Jordan was just saying, the potential for it to re-intensify and drop another tornado. So this is not a situation where I'm encouraging everyone to get into their safe place because there's a tornado on the ground. I don't think that there's a tornado on the ground. I don't think that you need to be in your safe place right now. But the warning does go until 6:15 here Central Time. It doesn't quite cross over the Alabama-Georgia line, but it does include parts of Henry County and in the northern portions of Houston County. Here soon, probably in the next 10 minutes, they're going to start chopping back some of the southern and western side of this warning. It's going to take them a little while, though. They want to make sure that the storm's pretty far away from that portion. Jordan, if you could ask the National Weather Service if they have any thoughts on whether or not they're going to expire this early.
Okay.
It wouldn't surprise me if they came back and said that they're not, that they're just going to allow this thing to continue until the 6:15 time period that it's officially slated to end. But I think that the reason they're just kind of holding out. It's a just-in-case scenario right now. It's not a, yeah, we for sure got a tornado on the ground scenario. This is a just-in-case things start to get strong and re-intensify here. So it'll take them a few minutes to get back to us because, you know, we're not their only concern here. Yes, they field our questions at the office, but they're also watching the storm very closely. They're corresponding with spotters out in the field, which is why they originally knew that there was a tornado on the ground. Someone called it in and said, hey, we see a tornado on the ground right now. We here at WDHN, just before they put on the confirmed tornado warning, we said, hey, it looks like there's a debris ball. It looks like there's some debris. And that was before we got that confirmation from the National Weather Service and from our Barron system. So, and that's what we do. We've got whole teams of meteorologists, some from the Storm Prediction Center, to put out these watches far ahead of time or the outlooks for severe weather. We were in a slight risk for severe weather today, and we finally had something form. National Weather Service in Tallahassee monitors the storms as they're ongoing and the environment just out ahead of them, and that's when they put those warnings out. And of course, we here on TV telling you guys what's going on, what's the real-time situation. Do we think that there's a tornado on the ground right now? Do we think that you need to be heading to your safe place? So it's a big team effort. And then we've got spotters, people like you out in the field that are calling in to either 911 or to the National Weather Service saying, I see rotation, I see a funnel cloud, I see a wall cloud, I see a tornado. And so it's a big team effort here for these severe weather situations. So we had confirmation earlier of a tornado on the ground, no longer seeing any rotation within the storm, or at least no significant rotation. Jordan, what you got?
So the good news is that they're going to keep the warning as of right now, but they said the good news is that the rotation is starting to appear very disorganized, which is the good news.
Yeah, very disorganized rotation, meaning it's broadening out. It's weakening. It's not as tight. It's not wrapping around here. So let's put it back into motion so you guys can see the movement of the storm. You'll notice that the overall structure of the storm has degraded significantly. Earlier, it was a single storm, supercellular, all by itself while it was in Geneva County, and then it crossed over into Houston County. And I want to get that. There you go. There's the county line right there. So in Houston County or in Geneva County, it definitely looked like a supercellular storm that was putting a tornado on the ground, because it was. It was storm spotter reported. But once it got into Houston County, and especially now that it's north of Highway 84 here and into Dale County, this thing looks absolutely nothing like it did earlier. So I don't think that there's a tornado inside of the storm at all. And in fact, I'm willing to go out on a limb here and say that it's unlikely that it will reform. Usually the storm will at least hold its structure and then re-intensify with the rotation. But this one has totally fallen apart at this point, and the line of storms further to the west has actually caught up to it. And so as that line overtakes this storm, I don't foresee it helping it out at all. In fact, I think it's going to steal some of the ingredients that this storm needs to ingest. Notice further south that there are no individual storms. There are a few little light showers here across the tri-state south of this main line, but there are no singular supercellular looking storms like this one was earlier. So this has been the lone warned storm of the day. Go ahead, Jordan.
The National Weather Service just canceled the tornado warning for Dale, Henry, and Houston. So
Okay.
It looks like
And there you
just
go. You
canceled
see it just top off of our screen there, and they have canceled it early. I think that was a great call because the storm has just totally lost all structure, all visible rotation within it as well by radar standards, and it just doesn't have that tornadic supercellular type of presentation. So, and again, the line is caught up to it, so it's falling apart and it's taking away those ingredients. So I do think that there's still the possibility of some rotation potential within this line over the next few hours. This line's going to keep moving across our area through about 7:30, 8 o'clock, I think, and that's 9 o'clock at the absolute latest for the eastern tip of Early County. For the rest of us in southeast Alabama, I think that this line of storms gets out of here about 7:30 Central Time. So it's going to wrap up. Give it another couple of hours or so. Could there still be rotation within the storms? Yes. But at this point, we've gotten past daytime heating. The sun has set, so we're losing a lot of those additional instability ingredients that we needed. And now all we really have is a little bit of shear and a little bit of lift, and the moisture's still there. But that instability is just not there, and you need that to spark the storm off first to help get this thing rolling. And because we're losing that instability, I think that we lose the ability to spark off the storms and get them doing that initial rotation. Shear helps prolong them, but the instability helps start them. So because we've lost that, I think that the rest of the night is going to be much tamer than what we just went through here. Just to reiterate, for those that may just now be tuning in, there was a tornado that did touch down a short time ago over in Geneva County near the High Bluff area, and that has since lifted, and the tornado warning has since expired. You see that red box go away north of Dothan. So for everybody across southeast Alabama, there's no rotation currently. We're not seeing any threat of a tornado right now. Just wanted to wrap that up nice and clean, put a little bow on it for you guys, let you know that it does not appear to be a severe threat currently, but there's still a little bit of potential for rotation in the future. So we'll keep monitoring these storms. For now, Julian, we're going to hop off of TV and off of Facebook Live as well. We're going to be back at 6 o'clock. We'll continue to monitor the situation for you guys. We're going to send it over to ABC's regular programming with World News Tonight with David Muir.